From Citizen TV, this is the Monday Report with Trevor Ombija.
That's right. Thank you so much for staying with Citizen TV. And just in time for the Monday Report, there's a diplomatic quagmire brewing between Kenya and Tanzania after 6 activists were detained and subsequently deported back to Kenya in what President Samia Suluhu calls an invasion of rogue activists. Is that the case? That's a conversation we're having later on tonight. Joshua Kipto is an advocate of the High Court and a governance practitioner. Donald Dare is the CEO, Pan-African Lawyers Union, commonly referred to as PALU. He'll be joining us from Tanzania. And Ahmed Hashi is a governance and policy expert. He'll be with us here in studio. Gloria Kimani is an LSK Council member. She's one of the people who were detained in Tanzania and subsequently deported back to Kenya. We'll find out from them. Are they rogue activists? Are they protecting the continent? Are they exporting indiscipline? That's our whole conversation that people are talking about online. At Trevor Ombija to Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Monday Report. But first, our top stories tonight. Confrontation in Kitale as TRANSORYA Governor Natembeya is arrested and home raided by police and anti-corruption officers.
I received intelligence reports that President William Ruto had ordered that I be dealt with once and for all.
They want me dead. Former DP Gachagua now alleges a death plot, accusing President Ruto of hatching an elimination plan.
This trend now that we see in East Africa, these dictators, is a very dangerous trend.
Sasa kama kwao wameshadhibitiwa, wasije kutuharibia.
Ex-CJ Mutunga among Kenyans thrown out of Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu Hassan talks tough against what she termed invading rogue activists. Did KWS officers kidnap Brian Odhiambo? The abduction trial begins in Nakuru. Thank you so much for tuning in. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Njoki Shege. So tonight we begin with the dramatic arrest of TRANSORYA Governor George Natembeya. Tension and chaos erupted at the governor's Milimani residence as officers from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, that's EACC, conducted a raid linked to the alleged embezzlement of 1.4 billion shillings in county funds. The early morning operation took a violent turn when irate youth, reportedly resisting the search, vandalized 4 EACC vehicles. Governor Natembeya was eventually arrested and taken to the EACC's Integrity Center right here in Nairobi, where he recorded a statement. He remains in custody and is expected to be arraigned on Tuesday. And as Citizen TV's Ben Kirui reports, opposition leaders have condemned the operation, alleging that it was motivated by politics.
A dramatic early morning raid by officers from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC at the Milimani residence of TRANSORYA Governor George Natembeya quickly descended into chaos after irate youth blocked access and resisted the search. Tensions escalated as the agitated crowd vandalized and deflated 4 EACC vehicles, with officers narrowly escaping harm during the standoff outside the governor's Kitale home. Police forced to use tear gas to disperse the crowd. Another group of angry youth went on a rampage, lighting bonfires and blocking roads. At the time of the raid, Governor Natembeya was in Nairobi, where he was later arrested in Kileleshwa and escorted to the EACC's Integrity Center. He was questioned and recorded a statement. He remains in custody and expected to be arraigned on Tuesday to face probable charges of conflict of interest and unlawful acquisition of public property. The opposition has condemned EACC, claiming it is being used to target government critics in political witch hunts.
This is a political witch hunt. I believe this is deliberate intimidation and harassment of the opposition that is meant to silence, particularly those very vocal leaders. And my party has been blessed with some very, very dynamic leaders and dynamite voices that have been out there condemning corruption and the rot in this government.
If it is a matter of fighting corruption, we must distinguish between fight of corruption and a political persecution. This one, if it quacks like a duck, swims like a duck, then it is a duck. This one is political persecution.
However, the EACC has defended the raid, stating it is investigating serious allegations including procurement irregularities, abuse of office, and bribery linked to the alleged fraudulent acquisition of 1.4 billion shillings. The alleged corruption is believed to have taken place between the 2022-2023 and 2024-2025 financial years. According to the EACC, the probe centers on 3 major county projects: the rehabilitation and modernization of Kenyatta Stadium, the construction of the county headquarters, and the building of Tom Mboya Hospital. Other persons of interest include Emmanuel Masungo, the Chief Officer in charge of Finance, Dorothy Nyukuri, the Chief Officer in charge of Water, Elia Liambula, the Director of Procurement, and Desmond Shivachi, the contractor proxy to the governor. The governor's arrest has drawn a sharp criticism from the opposition, which has denounced it as a politically motivated attack on government critics. Natembeya remains in custody and is expected to be arraigned on Tuesday. Ben Kiroi, Citizen TV, Integrity Center, Nairobi.
Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua now claims that there is a plot to murder him. The former Madar member of parliament, who is now daring the police to arrest him if he has committed any crime, claims that President Ruto has ordered for the disarmament of his private security detail, a move he alleges is aimed at enabling goons to attack and possibly eliminate him. Seth Olale with the details.
The former Madar legislator claims he miraculously survived yet another assassination attempt on his life by a whisker, moments after attending a church service in Gatanga, Murang'a County.
I received intelligence reports that President William Ruto had ordered that I be dealt with once and for all.
The former DP's claim coming hours after persons believed to be police officers were reported to have blocked one of the access roads that was to be used by Gachagwa's motorcade from Gatanga, Murang'a County.
The instructions were to poison me through inhaled chemicals that would paralyze my brain within 3 months. This was the intent and the purpose of the whole operation.
While maintaining that he is innocent, Gachagua dared the police to arrest him if he has committed any crime.
If the government knows that I've committed a crime known under the laws of Kenya and identified in the penal code, they know all my homes. And I'm here.
Gachagua accusing his former boss of ordering for the disarmament of his private security detail, a move he alleges is aimed at enabling goons to attack and possibly eliminate him.
President Ruto has directed that my private security personnel be disarmed and be targeted for withdrawal of their licenses so that they can leave me vulnerable to allow room for goons to attack and possibly eliminate me.
The former second-in-command says it is pointless to report the latest threats to his life to authorities.
Report to who? These are the same people who want to kill me. How do you report to the people who are planning to poison your mind so that the brain can be paralyzed and then you become a vegetable?
In his latest run-ins with the state, the former deputy president maintains that he is conducting civic education to the masses, a role which he is mandated to. However, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has maintained that the former DP is inciting Kenyans. Seth Olale, Citizen TV, Karen, Nairobi County.
Now, former Chief Justice Willy Mutunga is among 3 more Kenyans who were deported to Kenya after being denied access and detained at the Julius Nyerere International Airport in Dar es Salaam, that's in Tanzania. As Emmanuel To now reports, the trio who were in Tanzania to observe the hearing of Tanzania opposition leader Tundu Lissu's treason trial maintain that they will sue the Tanzanian government for flouting the Jumuiya agreement that allows free movement of people within the East Africa community.
They touched down at the Terminal 1 Jomo Kenyatta International Airport a few minutes past 4:30 p.m. Monday. Former Chief Justice Willy Mutunga, Vocal Africa CEO Hussein Khalid, and activist Hanifa Adan back to sender hours after being detained at the Julius Nyerere International Airport in Tanzania's commercial capital, Dar es Salaam.
We got there at 2:30 a.m. and that's when we were detained. From 2:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. We were not told why we were detained.
The trio explaining the 11-hour ordeal in the hands of the Tanzanian authorities, where they were detained, their travel documents confiscated and kept under tight security.
It's like we were in a cell because we couldn't move out. They took our passports.
Hapa Afrika Mashariki tunapiga hatua nyingi kurudi nyuma sisi katika masuala ya demokrasia na haki za binadamu.
Why would a whole state have a list or mark activists coming into the country to stop us from attending Tundu Lissu's case? So I'm asking what Samia is scared of.
The three now threatening to sue the Tanzanian government for denying them access against the Jumuiya Agreement, which guarantees free movement of members of the East African community.
I said we'll seek legal advice, and I think this trend now that we see in East Africa, these dictators, is a very dangerous trend.
This as their comrade in arms, fellow activist Boniface Mwangi, who had made entry into Tanzania, continues to be under Tanzanian authorities, with reports indicating he was arrested from his hotel in Dar es Salaam Monday. The former CJ David Maraga, whose mission to Tanzania was successful, even meeting opposition leader Tundu Lissu at the Senior Principal Magistrate's Court in Kisutu, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, calling out Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan for blocking Kenyans from entering the country. In a statement, Maraga said, quote, "We strongly condemn the draconian acts of detention and deportation against citizens of the East African community who traveled to observe the trial of lawyer Tundu Lissu in Dar es Salaam. These actions undermine the fundamental right to a fair and public hearing enshrined in international human rights law." The developments come after the People's Liberation Party leader Martha Karua was also deported at the same airport Sunday. From the Julius Nyerere International Airport to Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, the deportation of Kenyans from Tanzania is expected to further deteriorate the relationship between Kenya and Tanzania, even as Tanzania continues to play hardball against Kenya. Emmanuel Toh, Citizen TV at the JKIA, Nairobi.
Meanwhile, Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan has issued a warning to foreign activists, accusing them of attempting to interfere in Tanzania's internal affairs. She declared that such individuals will not be allowed to set foot in the country. Speaking during the launch of Tanzania's new foreign policy, President Suluhu said that the country remains the only one in the region that has not been infiltrated by activists who she claims wreak havoc elsewhere.
Tumeanza kuona mtiririko au mwenendo wa wanaharakati ndani ya region yetu hii kuanza kuvamia na kuingilia mambo yetu huku. Sasa kama kwao wameshadhibitiwa, wasije kutuharibia huku. Tusitowe nafasi. Walishaharibu kwao, walishavuruga kwao. Nchi iliyobaki haijaharibika. Watu wako na usalama na amani na utulivu ni hapa kwetu. Kuna majaribio kadhaa. Niwaombe sana vyombo vya ulinzi na usalama na nyinyi wasimamizi wa sera zetu nje kutoa nafasi kwa watovu wa adabu wa nchi nyingine kuja kutovuka hapa kwetu. Hapana. Nimeona klipu kadhaa za kunisema niko bias na nini. Nalofanya ni kulinda nchi yangu na ndio wajibu niliopewa. Kwa hiyo hatutatoa nafasi kwa kiumbe yoyote kuja kutuvurugia hapa. Awe yupo ndani au anatoka nje. Hatutatoa hiyo nafasi.
As that is happening, Tanzania's opposition leader Tundu Lissu will spend more days in custody as the Kisutu-based court deferred his hearing to 2nd of June. Lissu is facing treason charges alongside other charges bordering on economic sabotage and incitement. Stephen Leto has the details.
Monday morning, and the Tanzanian-based court in Kisutu received opposition leader Tundu Lissu, who has been in police custody for over a month. Lissu's arrival in court was met with cheers from his supporters who had thronged the courtroom. Tension was high in Dar es Salaam for the better part of the day as Lissu appeared before the judges in Kisutu. Security officers were heavily deployed at the trial magistrates court and around the city.
Nimeambiwa wamemrudisha airport. Kama mnaweza mkamrudisha Jaji Mkuu Willy Mutunga airport, asije kuangalia kesi inaendaje, mmekwisha.
The court had previously attempted to conduct hearings virtually, but Lissu and his legal team opposed this, citing the need for transparency and due process. The Chadema party leader was arrested on 9th April following his rallying call for no reforms, no election, telling supporters that the general elections due in October this year should not go ahead unless there are electoral reforms. He has since been charged with treason and publishing false information online, which allegedly incited rebellion and accused police of electoral misconduct, charges he has vehemently denied. Tundu Lissu's opposition party Chadema has been banned from participating in the October polls for refusing to sign the election code of conduct as required by law. Tundu Lissu in 2017 survived a serious gun attack where he was shot several times near his home in Dodoma. He has also served as the president of Tanganyika Law Society. Tundu Athifas Mugwai Lissu was born in Singida, Tanzania. If found guilty, will face a death penalty. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
So Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan is describing it as the export of activism. So is it? The deportation of high-ranking Kenyan figures such as former Chief Justice Willy Mutunga and opposition leader Martha Karua has put into sharp focus the recent moves by Kenya's political and human rights activists to express their voices in neighboring countries such as Uganda and Tanzania. Citizen TV's Ayub Abdikadir puts this to context.
Tumeanza kuona mtiririko au mwenendo wa wanaharakati ndani ya region yetu hii kuanza kuvamia na kuingilia mambo yetu huku.
Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan is not mincing her words. She is accusing Kenyan political activists of exporting activism to her country. A trend she directed her country's security agencies to be on the alert. The expulsion of Madar Karua, Willy Mutunga and others constitutes uncharted waters in the recent history of diplomatic activities in the East African region. The denial of access to the Kenyans by Tanzanian authorities, raising questions on the principles of the East African community.
The principles of EAC require of all of us as member states to facilitate free movement of goods and persons, but circumstances exist under which states may choose to decline entrance to their countries.
The politically charged case against opposition leader Tundu Lissu could well be one such reason behind the decline of entry for Karua on Sunday and former Chief Justice Willy Mutunga on Monday.
But today, that has been violated by the orders.
Months earlier, the opposition leader and lawyer Madar Karua made a high-profile appearance in Kampala and successfully applied to join the legal defense team for detained opposition leader Kizza Besigye. Karua taking the Ugandan military court by storm.
We respectively urge you to grant us audience, which we already have, so that we are able to proceed. The word of mouth before the court from these two gentlemen is better than any written paper. If they say all these are their lawyers, that is it. Yes.
Besigye's case had been preceded by the norm-breaking abduction in Nairobi, ostensibly by Ugandan authorities. The cross-border arrest outraging political and human rights activists who immediately listed the incident as part of a shocking ascent of a dictatorial streak around the region.
We thought that as citizens of Jumuiya we were free, but not yet uhuru.
The arrival of a seemingly expanded battalion of activists in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, ahead of Tundu Lissu case, appeared to have rattled the authorities, who swiftly threw out Karua and then Mutunga, among others.
As government, we are under an obligation to be able to speak out when our citizens are, are apprehended in particularly high, persons, and therefore we would want to understand what could have, led to this situation.
Yeah. With President Suluhu calling it the export of activism, questions abound whether the region is prepared at all for this uniquely Kenyan product.
Vis-a-vis our neighbors, I think we are way ahead in the liberalization journey, but we must allow our neighbors to also evolve. We cannot impose our, and project the way we run our democratic order on our neighbors. We've got to be careful.
And while the campaigns to stop tyranny from spreading, democratic backsliding and plummeting civil liberties stems from Kenya. The increasing exploits of Kenyans seeking strong and independent institutions in the region portray a dim democratic environment aided by a deeply entrenched strongmanship. Ayub Abdikadir, Citizen TV, Foreign Affairs, Nairobi.
Now, 4 witnesses, including the mother of missing fisherman Brian Odhiambo, testified before the Nakuru court describing how Odhiambo was last seen in the company of Kenya Wildlife Service officers before his disappearance on January 18th. The abduction case officially commenced today at the Nakuru Law Courts with 6 KWS officers in the dock, as Marianne Nyambura reports.
Agnes Olwoch, a businesswoman and resident of Manyani, Kivumbini, Nakuru East, was the first witness to take the stand in the case of Brian Odhiambo's disappearance. She narrated to Principal Magistrate Kipkurui Kibelion the events that unfolded on the day Brian went missing under the custody of KWS officers.
Nilikuwa nafua nje hapo nje ploti hapo nje. Nafuaga nje nikiangalia customers wakitaka kununua na ingia na uausia. Nikaangalia game park nikaona mtu anakimbizwa kutoka game park. Akakuja akaruka huko nje. Ukakaa kidogo maofisa pia wameruka fence. Wanamfuata huko nje.
Taratibu unasema uliona mtu anafukuzwa.
Anakimbizwa na game rangers, anakimbizwa. Brian Odhiambo ndiye alikuwa anakimbizwa.
Uliweza kuona ni gani?
Niliona si alipita tu karibu na mimi hivi.
According to her, Odhiambo was in the company of uniformed KWS officers, and a KWS vehicle was used to transport him to Lake Nakuru National Park. It was at this point that residents became aware of the incident.
Nikigonga Stanley Sharp, Alex akakuja mbio. Carlos, harakisha, kimbia, brother yako ameshikwa na magemu. Wanaenda na yeye. Nikaenda nikiwaitanga. Afande kuja tuongee. Afande kuja tuongee. Mwachilieni tu huyo kuja tuongee afande. But hakuna hata mmoja mwenye alikuwa anaangalia nyuma.
Brian's mother, Elizabeth Auma, also testified describing the family's desperate search for him since the day he disappeared.
Nikarudi bondeni sasa inalekea 6. Hakuna police station amepelekwa. Nikarudi bondeni police station inalekea 6 baada ya kujampata kwenye hapo. Kurudi nilipata kuna watu wa samaki wameletwa, lakini Brian hayuko katikati yao. Nikaanza kushikwa na uoga. Kwani wamempeleka wapi?
Huyo ofisa wa kiume venye alikuja nikamuuliza kuhusu Brian Odhiambo. Alichonielezea ni wana gereza huko ndani. Kisha akanieleza kama bahati mbaya walimweka kwa maji atafloat within 48 hours.
Principal Magistrate Kipkurui Kibelion has ordered the director of KWS to provide full details about 2 vehicles allegedly involved in the abduction of the fisherman.
The requested car track and speed governors and any other data or document requested by the investigating officer And for this case, respecting motor vehicle KCK 869U and KAL 131U.
6 KWS officers were charged on May 5th with abducting Brian Odhiambo on January 18th, 2025. The 6 were released on a 300,000 shillings bond on 12th May. The hearing of the case continues on 7th July. 6 more witnesses are lined up to testify in the ongoing case concerning the disappearance of fisherman Brian Odhiambo. A site visit to Lake Nakuru National Park is also slated for a later date, where Brian Odhiambo was reportedly last seen. This after 4 witnesses who testified today gave crucial details about the events leading up to his disappearance. Marian Nyambura, Citizen TV, at the Nakuru Law Courts.
Mumias East Member of Parliament Peter Salasia has been released on a bond of 200,000 shillings following his arraignment at the Milimani Law Courts earlier on today. The legislator spent 3 days in police custody after his arrest last Friday. He faces charges related to hate speech, with prosecutors accusing him of making inflammatory remarks that could incite the public unrest. Salasia's legal team argued that for his release on bail, citing his cooperation with investigators and status as a public servant. The court granted the request, setting the bail at 200,000 shillings pending further proceedings.
Since the bond terms are not opposed, I'm minded to grant the accused person bond as follows. Is admitted to a surety bond of Kenya shillings 500,000 in the alternative cash bail of 200,000.
The High Court has suspended the vetting of nominees for IEBC chairperson and commissioners that was due next Monday. Justice Lawrence Mugambi issued the orders after lawyers representing petitioners Kelvin Roy Omondi and Boniface Mwangi warned of the risk that the National Assembly may proceed to vet and approve the nominees in the absence of orders. The orders will remain in place until the 29th of May. Attorney General Dorcas Oduor, who filed a preliminary objection on the case, says that the court lacks jurisdiction to hear the matter. IEBC nominees face another case filed by civil society outfit Operation Linda Jamii, who argued that the nominations were made without the necessary political consultation. The case is due for further direction on the 11th of June after petitioners serve respondents. All right, on that note, we're taking a quick break here on the Monday Report. We're back with much more in just a bit, so don't go too far. Thanks for staying with the Monday Report. I'm afraid I have some sad news now. 5 people have died and 4 injured when a fire burnt down houses and 2 churches in Madar this morning. The fire broke out at around 12 a.m. on Monday morning, destroying property and leaving several people homeless as it spread to the surrounding area. Those injured were rushed to a nearby hospital for treatment.
Sasa venye moto ilitokezea, kuna nyumba iko hapa inakuanga nyumba ya mabati lakini ni gorofa. Sasa moto venye ilianza na chini na ikachoma stairs. Sasa venye ilichoma stairs, sasa wale wa juu kuona moto imetoka na moto imeanzia chini, kuangalia wakapata stairs ishachomeka. Hakuna venye watatoka. Sasa kuna wanaume wawili wenye walijihami na wakajirusha chini. Sasa tunaomba tu serikali kama inaweza tusaidia.
Kwa kitu saa 6 mimi nilikuwa nalala na ndio sasa vile nimeamuka nimesikia tu jirani yangu akisema moto moto. Hakuna stairs already imeshachomeka.
And there was tension in Woodley estate today after residents retaliated against county officers who had arrived at the estate to continue evicting the residents from there. The residents say that the Nairobi County government has continued to defy a court order stopping the evictions of some Woodley estate residents over rent arrears.
There was tension in Woodley Estate today. Tempers flared and chaos erupted as residents confronted Nairobi County askaris and a group of youth who had arrived to carry out more evictions. Angry and defiant, the residents claim the county government is acting in contempt of a court order, an order that had halted all evictions linked to rent arrears. What was supposed to be a routine operation quickly spiraled into a standoff, with residents blocking access and demanding justice. They say their rights are being trampled and their homes threatened despite legal protection. As the back and forth with the Nairobi County government continues, the tension lingers. The resilience in the residents remains. For them, these aren't just houses. They are their homes. Lillian Muli, Citizen TV.
Now, standoff is brewing between the Ministry of Health and the Council of Governors over the fate of healthcare workers under the Universal Health Coverage, that's a UHC program. This follows a directive by Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale ordering that their payrolls be transferred to the county governments by July 1st, 2025. As Emily Chebet now reports, governors have pushed back, accusing CS Duale of offloading a national burden to the counties rather than offering a sustainable solution.
The fate of over 8,000 healthcare workers under the UHC program is hanging in the balance after governors opposed Health CS Duale's directive to transfer them to county governments. The workers who have been on strike were hired in 2020 when the UHC program was launched. They were deployed to support primary healthcare at the county level, but have been receiving their stipends through the Ministry of Health.
We will not be accepting a payroll that is not properly construed, because the UHC staff since 2020 have been on a job group that is very discriminative compared to their colleagues. They almost earn, I think, a third of the salary that the rest of the colleagues earn.
According to Duale, the UHC staff ought to have been transferred long time ago, adding that health is devolved. But the governors have accused him of running away from problems that were created by his predecessors.
The CS is trying to transfer his problem to us because the moment their contract ends, they'll start demanding that counties absorb them. And all we're saying is, where is the money to absorb them?
The Constitution provides that even though a function may be devolved, the national government can actually come and capacity build. So they capacity builded the counties by providing them with these health workers who are 8,557.
Let the ministry keep the payroll as long as they don't provide the prerequisite resources in the equitable share to be able to pay for this staff onward.
The healthcare workers' unions have welcomed COG's sentiments, saying the Ministry of Health is planning to dump them after 5 years of service with almost no pay.
3.5, I think it was around 4.5 billion. Hizo hela zote wanaenda kufanya renovation ya State House. Na UHC wanahitaji pesa hela kidogo sana. Bunge pamoja na Wizara ya Afya lazima waketi pamoja watuelezee sisi kama viongozi wa afya hizo hela ambazo tunahitaji.
Katika hii budget inasomwa ya 2025-2026 tunataka tuone hizi pesa ndani, na kama itabidi sisi kama vyama vya afya twende mgomo sisi sote ndio waweze wakawekwa kandarasi za kudumu, sisi tuko tayari.
The governors are questioning Health CS Duale's decision to transfer the UHC staff less than a year before the end of their contracts. And as the standoff persists, UHC staff remains on strike and are expected to hold a protest outside the Ministry of Health tomorrow. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Now, Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki has vowed to intensify the fight against cartels in the coffee sector as government continues to tighten its grip on implementing coffee reforms. Kindiki, who was speaking in Ndia constituency, that's in Kirinyaga County, has pledged to push for the passage of the Coffee and the Cooperatives Act of 2025 in the next few weeks in order to provide better governance in coffee and cooperative societies where farmers have been swindled for decades.
Na ndio unaona nimekuja directly kuongea na wakulima. Kwa sababu tukisema tufanye mkutano at stakeholders, kuna watu wanakuja kwa mkutano na hao wenyewe ndiye cartel. Unaona cartel ameketi kwa mkutano, kule anakula jasho la mkulima. Wale wanawaumiza mniambie ninyoroshe hapa. Na mnajua nitawanyorosha. Si mnajua nitawanyorosha. Si mimi nimekuwa Minister for Interior. Sinyoroshana na bandits, sinyoroshana na cartel ya passports, sinyoroshana na ile ya shababu ya Lamu. Kweli si kweli? Sasa nitashindwa na cartel ya kahawa. Hiyo ni mambo kidogo.
All right, on that note, let's take another quick break. We're back with some business news in just a short while. Time now for some business news. And the Ministry of Information, Communication and the Digital Economy says that it will require 150 billion shillings to implement Kenya's artificial intelligence strategy. According to the Principal Secretary for ICT, Engineer John Tanui, the strategy will incorporate AI infrastructure development, data ecosystems, AI research and development, as well as attracting investments into the sector. Now, this comes as the sector gears up for the 2025 Connected Africa Summit, which is expected to attract ICT players globally to explore opportunities in the continent. Jimmy Mbogo has the details.
The ICT Authority is banking on 130 investor-ready startups to help bridge the funding gap in Kenya's tech ecosystem and seize opportunities presented by the upcoming Connect Africa Summit. The event is expected to bring together industry leaders to explore investment prospects across the continent. According to the ICT Authority CEO Stanley Kamanguya, startup funding in Kenya has declined due to duplicated efforts, weak proposals, poor market strategy, and a lack of scalability. To tackle these challenges, the authority has introduced startup clusters aimed at helping entrepreneurs to sharpen their pitches and present scalable market-ready solutions to attract investors.
So, from a funding perspective, we have been trying to establish a tech fund together with the Kenya Innovation Agency. But I think the best approach for us is creating an environment for investors, venture capitalists to come in and support our innovators.
So we invite Kenyan enterprises to take this opportunity very seriously, because it is your platform to expand. We encourage the professionals in the ICT sector to take this platform very seriously, because we are giving you a convening platform where we bring the entire continent here so that you can connect and to be able to see how you can serve countries across the continent.
The government is also calling for greater collaboration within the ICT sector, even as it works to implement the Digital Master Plan, an initiative expected to enhance national connectivity at a projected cost of 500 billion shillings.
As Kenya, we must now shift our focus more intentionally to the continent. Our companies, professionals, and institutions must expand their horizons to serve across borders. There is quite a lot of need for us to support our neighbors and the rest of the continent. We are already well endowed in terms of capabilities with our professionals. We have the best talent in the region.
With only days to go to the Connected Africa Summit 2025, the government is calling on startups in the country to register and take advantage of the stakeholders that the conference brings together from across the continent, even as they seek for funding. Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
The government has outlined a 5-year plan to boost investments in Kenya energy and petroleum sector. The 2023-2027 strategic plan prioritizes infrastructure upgrades, power reliability, and exploration of new energy sources to support long-term growth. Wamboi Wangoi now brings us the details.
The government is set to channel significant investment into maintaining and expanding energy infrastructure over the next 5 years. In the just released 2023 to 2027 strategic plan for the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, focus will be placed on enhancing electricity access, improving supply reliability, and creating a more attractive environment for investors.
The overall key objective of the plan are to enhance sector capacity, promote sustainable resource management, and support for national economic growth.
In the electricity subsector, the plan targets an increase in installed capacity to nearly 4,000 megawatts, alongside the construction of 2,930 kilometers of high-voltage transmission lines and 36 new substations. Over 2.3 million new customers and 30,000 public facilities are expected to be connected to the grid.
In order for us to continue to align to the emerging trends and developing technologies within the sector, both petroleum and energy. Okay? And we should continue to promote the global push for environmental conservation. In this regard, the ministry is committed to enhancing energy generation mix further, okay, by increasing our renewable energy share beyond the current 93% or thereabout.
In Petroleum, the focus will be on developing infrastructure to support oil and gas exploration, expanding storage and pipeline capacity, and scaling up LPG availability. Key projects include the Lokicha to Lamu crude pipeline and a gas-to-wire initiative in northern Kenya.
The petroleum sector remains a critical driver of our economy. As such, it is imperative that the sector is supported by a robust and efficient system to ensure that petroleum products are available, accessible, affordable, and meet all specifications.
The ministry estimates a total financial requirement of over 2.5 trillion shillings to fully implement the strategy. Wamboi Wangoi, Citizen TV.
Now, Kenya is set to host over 6,500 delegates from 40 countries at the 15th edition of the Magical Kenya Travel Expo, taking place from October 1st to 3rd right here in Nairobi. The event is expected to spotlight intra-African collaboration and the future of sustainable tourism, marking a bold step toward positioning Africa as a unified tourism powerhouse. The expo will bring together 200 international buyers, 400 exhibitors, and thousands of industry players for 3 days of networking, deal-making, and dialogue. Africa was Kenya's top source market in 2024, accounting for 40.8% of international arrivals.
Our expectation is that this event will become even bigger and bigger, and of course, become an anchor to really promoting our tourism, our investment, and that will project our country as a global destination.
And we are happy to note that our products is growing. We are seeing diversification, and our local traveler, domestic traveler, is also growing. We have seen a growth from 2 days vacation twice a year to more than 4 days, 4 times a year.
Meanwhile, the government has announced a raft of immediate measures to ease congestion at the Nairobi National Park. This follows complaints over long queues witnessed due to delays with the e-citizen payment platform. Now, key interventions include the introduction of express lanes for prepaid ticket holders aimed at reducing wait times significantly. According to KWS, more than 60% of visitors on Sunday use the e-citizen prepaid system, signaling growing public intake of digital ticketing. To further ease this congestion, KWS has now fully operationalized the East Gate, which is off Mombasa Road, and Mbagathi Gate, located along the Magadi Road opposite Multimedia University. In addition, plans are underway to establish a new entry point via the Southern Bypass.